Hello friends, welcome to UPSC with Sukumar. So in the previous video I have explained in detail the structure of the earth. So right now we will study what all the NCERT has mentioned about the structure of the earth. So the first layer of the earth surface, it is the crust. It is the outermost solid part of the earth. It is brittle in nature, that means very hard in nature. So crust, mantle and the core region, these are the three layers of the earth. It is the crust is the outermost solid part of the earth and it is very brittle in nature, that means hard in nature. The thickness of the crust varies under the oceanic and the continental areas. So when we see the thickness of the continents, when we see the thickness of the crust in the continental areas, it is actually greater than the thickness of crust in the oceanic regions. So that is what the NCERTs have mentioned here. So oceanic crust is thinner as compared to the continental crust. This means the thickness of the oceanic crust is 5 kilometers, whereas the thickness of continental crust is around 30 kilometers. Right? The continental crust is thicker in areas of major mountain systems. It is as much as 70 kilometers thick in the Himalayan regions. So this is all this part is saying that the oceanic crust is less thicker than the continental crust. And after the crust layer we see there is presence of mantle region, and the mantle and the crust is divided by the Mohoric discontinuity. The portion of the interior beyond the crust is called as the mantle. The mantle extends from Mohos discontinuity to a depth of 2900 kilometers. The upper portion of the mantle is called as asthenosphere. So first the crust will be there, then uppermost mantle will be there, and the uppermost mantle is called as the crust plus the uppermost mantle is called as the lithosphere, and the immediate layer that is present below the lithosphere in the upper regions of mantle itself is called as the asthenosphere. Right? So the upper portion of the mantle is called as the asthenosphere. The word astheno means weak, and it is considered to be extending up to 400 kilometers. It is the main source of magma that finds its way to the surface during volcanic eruption. So if there is any volcanic eruption happens, the main source of magma for those volcanoes will be coming from this mantle region, and majority of the magma is coming from the asthenosphere region, which is the upper part, which is present in the upper part of the mantle. So suppose here the volcanoes are present and the magma that is coming or feeding this volcano is coming from asthenosphere, right? And the crust and the uppermost part of the mantle are called as the lithosphere. Its thickness ranges from 10 kilometers to 200 kilometers. The lower mantle extends beyond the asthenosphere. It is solid in state. And the next part is the core region. So first there will be crust, immediately following mantle will be there, and following the mantle we will see core region. So as indicated earlier, the earthquake wave velocities helped in understanding the existence of the core of the earth. So we haven't discussed about the earthquakes till now. We will explain, I will explain the topic later on. So till then just understand that the studying of the earthquake wave velocities helps us understood the existence of core of the earth. The core mantle boundary is located at the depth of around 2900 kilometers. The outer core is in liquid state while the inner core is in solid state. The core is made up of very heavy materials mostly constituted by nickel and iron. It is sometimes referred to as the knife layer. So crust, outermost crust, and then mantle, and then the core region. And core again divided into outer and inner core region. Outer will be liquid in nature and the inner core will be solid in nature, and this core is mostly made up of iron and nickel. That's why it is called as the knife layer. So this is all what the NCERT has mentioned about the structure of the earth. Now we would understand what are the sources that helps us to understand, what are the sources that helped scientists to actually understand how the scientists to understand the structure of the earth, or the chemical nature or the physical properties of different layers of the earth. So as we know from the previous video itself, as we go deeper into the surface of the earth, we can find that as we go deeper there will be increase in the temperature, pressure, right? So as we go deep, the pressure will increase, the temperature will increase, the density also will increase, everything will increase, right? So then without going deep underground, how would we know that the outer core is liquid in nature and the inner core is solid in nature? So all these, to understand all these sort of things, we are dealing with the sources here. So what are the sources that helped us to find the actual characteristics of the internal structure of the earth? So earth has a radius of about 6378 kilometers, right, up to the core region. This is the core region, right? It has a radius of somewhere 6000 kilometers, right? So we can't go to that deep because there will be huge amount of temperature and pressure will be there. So no object can sustain that much amount of heat and pressure. And how would we know the information about its interior then, right? For that we have different sources are there. Some direct sources are there and some indirect sources are there to study this or help, or the sources that helped in understanding the structure of the earth or the interior structure of the earth. So what are these direct sources? There will be mining happens, right? Mining of the rocks from the surface region, right? And through the mining we extract the fossil fuels, right, like crude oil, and also gold extraction happens in the South Africa. So all this will directly gives us the information regarding the internal structure of the earth and various chemical or physical properties of the earth. And these minings usually go as 3 to 4 kilometers deep, right? And there are some deep drilling projects as well, which are taken up by the scientists to understand the structure or what are all the properties that are beneath the crust. One such project is deep ocean drilling project and the another one is integrated ocean drilling project. And the deepest drill so far has happened on the earth is the Kola Super Deep borehole in Arctic region, and it is of around 12 kilometers deep. It is the largest drilling that has been happened till now, or the deepest drill that has been happened till now, to understand the structure of the earth or the internal structure of the earth or physical and chemical properties of the earth. And again volcanic eruptions also gives us the information regarding the or analyze the what kind of material that has been exist inside the earth. So how we can say, because whenever there is any volcanic eruption, as we have discussed previously, from where this magma is coming from, this magma is coming from the asthenosphere majorly, right? Asthenosphere. So I have explained it while I am explaining the structure of the earth. Asthenospheric layer and the magma present in this act as the feeder for the volcanoes, right? And these magma will gives us the information, helps us analyze the kind of minerals or the materials present in the inside the earth. So these are all the direct sources. Then what are the indirect sources, right? What are the indirect sources? So there is a variation in temperature, pressure and density as we go deeper inside the earth. As depth increases, we can see the temperature increase will happen, pressure increase will happen, and the density of the earth will also be increased, and more pressure will be there, and materials present in those depths will abide to the greater amount of compressions or pressures. right? And meteorites. So these meteorites will present in space. Sometimes what happens, they comes towards the earth and falls on the earth itself. So what can we understand regarding the meteorites, which can help in understanding the internal structure of the earth? Because meteorites are made up of the similar materials that are actually earth made up of. So meteorites and the earth actually formed from the solar nebula itself. Both formed, meteorites and the earth both formed from the solar nebula. That's why these meteorites also helps in understanding the properties of the earth. Next one is the gravitational force. So in this image we can see this meteorite. This is a rock that has been fallen on the earth surface from this space. Next one is the gravitational force. So what is this gravitational force? The force that is acting on the bodies that are present on the earth surface, and that force is pulling those bodies towards the earth, right? So, and this force is not uniform across the earth surface. We can say, because the earth is geoid in structure, geoid in shape, the distance or the radius between the center and the polar region is very less. From the center of the earth to the polar region, the distance is very less. So the gravitational force will be more or the stronger at polar region. And when we see the distance between center of the earth and the equator, right, it is more, the distance is more. That's why we can say the gravitational force in the equatorial regions are lesser. Okay, and gravity also differs according to the mass of the material, right? And the actual, suppose at some place in the equator, the gravitational force has to be normal, but because of the presence of mountains in a specific location, because of the density of the material is more there can be more gravity can be present there, right? So the difference between the normal gravity that has to be happened there, and because of the more mountainous nature, more different kinds of material presence, the gravity is more there. So the difference between this normal gravity and the abnormal gravity gives us the gravitational anomaly. That means the difference. Okay, and then the magnetic field. So there is a magnetic field surrounding the earth, right? And this magnetic field is generated due to the presence of iron and nickel in the outer core region. And by doing the magnetic surveys also across different regions of the earth, we can understand the distribution of magnetic materials of the earth. That's one more thing. And the next one is the seismic activity. What is the meaning of seismic activity? Anything that is related to the earthquakes, we can call them as the seismic, right? We can call them as seismic waves. Any energy that is related to the earthquakes, we can call it as a seismic activity, right? By studying the seismic waves reflect, refract and gets absorbed, scientists map the layers of the earth. So we can understand this detail while explaining the concept of earthquakes. So for now we can understand that seismic waves also gives us information. Seismic activity also gives us information regarding the layers of the earth, right? Layers of the earth. So till now we have studied what are the direct sources and indirect sources that helps in understanding the structure of the earth. So rocks, mines, deep drilling, volcanic lava, all these are the direct sources, right? Actual samples from the crust and the mantle region. And the indirect sources, temperature, pressure, density, meteorites, gravity, magnetism and seismic data. These are all the indirect sources that helps in understanding the earth structure, right? So this is regarding the sources that helps in understanding or gives information about the interior of the earth.